something that might be a little bit controversial, but it really shouldn't be. I'm going to tell you why you should dumpster dive. Okay, there's a lot of different aspects to dumpster diving. Part of it is the controversy. Some of it is, the positive aspects of why you should do it. There's negative aspects to it, and it's just become a part of pop culture. So we'll talk about all of those things. And for any of you guys who don't know, it is just exactly what it sounds like. Dumpster diving is going to a dumpster and, where everybody throws their trash, things that they don't want, and finding things that you do want by digging through it. Some people get actually in it, some people, reach over. There's different methods. But we'll get to that as well. Anyway, first of all, why you should do it. Why am I going to spend your time making you listen to this? There's 4 main reasons to save. To save energy, to save money, to save the quality of our food, and to save our country's reputation. Which, some of you guys might not agree with until you hear it. Energy. In the Environmental Science and Technology Journal, they published an article that said the amount of energy it takes to produce the 96 billion pounds of food that we waste every year in America, that amount of energy is equivalent to 185 million barrels of oil. So, in the recent BP oil spill, the company said we spilled about 4.9 million barrels, but at the highest, we spilled about 8 million. So anyway, 185, 8 million, there's a huge difference. And this is just food that we throw away all the time, every year. Another good reason to save is to save money. And the USDA's most recent estimate cost of food waste in America is $100 billion a year, which, that could go to a lot of things, including people that don't have enough food to eat in our own country. Quality of food. You guys all know about genetically modifying food. If you've ever seen the documentary King Corn, they talk a lot about corn, obviously, in it, and most of the corn that's grown in America, you can't just eat it off the stalk because it's been genetically modified and it just doesn't taste good until they convert it to high fructose corn syrup and put it in a lot of different products. But they do that to reduce the cost and to produce more food, but you also lose the nutritional value. So, all this food that we're producing, America produces twice as much food as a person needs to eat. Per person, we produce twice as much as we need. So, we're producing a lot more than we need and we're throwing it away. To save our reputation of our country, all of us have seen commercials of children starving in India, Africa, any third world country, and it's shameful to throw away all this food. Dumpster diving is pretty controversial because, first of all, people might think it's disgusting. Second of all, our society has put a shame on the appearance of poverty or seeming poor, Would you want people to see you in broad daylight, like looking through a dumpster, people you work with, your friends and family? We, as a society, have made that shameful. There's a lot of laws involved. They vary from place to place. The most typical law that you would be breaking by dumpster diving would be trespassing, because most dumpsters are on private property. But there's also the legality of stealing. Some people consider it theft. It's kind of broad. There's broad definitions in laws. Just depends on where you go. But one reason that we keep these laws around is because of liability reasons. We all know people get sued all the time for this and that, and stores can't just sell you food that's outdated. That's why we have expiration dates, and that's why they get rid of it at a certain time. And also safety. Uh, you never know what's in a dumpster. There could be a lot of dangerous items. There could be bums in alleys. You know, there's a huge, broad range of danger. But anyway, to get to the actual dumpster diving, the rules that you should abide by if you're going to do this, the number one rule is always leave the dumpster better than you found it. Dumpster diving can be such a beneficial thing. You can save a lot of money. You're not contributing to, you know, mass corporations that make all this food and get rid of it. You know, you're using what nobody else is going to use. You're taking away from the waste. But personally, it saves you a lot of money. So, first rule, always leave it better than you found it. Second rule, never take more than you need. Other people are going to come and get to it. It's become like a trend. You should go at night just so you don't cause a lot of problems. And that's when businesses are closed, and so they don't have to worry about you being on their property while they're there. You don't want to put them in that position. And you should do just a little bit of research. If you're going to go to a grocery store, you should find out what day they get their shipments in so you can get the food when it's the freshest. They usually do it like on a weekly basis, throw away their food when they get new shipments in, they don't have room for it. So you can get really good stuff. Now I'm going to tell you about some real accounts of friends that I have that have done it. I personally have not done it yet, but I plan to try it. Alright, I talked to the king of dumpster diving in Lander. Alright, I won't say his name just because, but he's been doing it for an entire year, pretty consistently, on a weekly basis. I'm not going to give away the night of the week that he goes. I don't know if he'd like that. But he's never gotten sick yet. You just use your good judgment. Most things are sealed, and I mean, if something is meat or dairy that's been sitting out, you know, you use common sense. You wouldn't eat that. But there's a lot of things that are sealed and that have early expiration dates. There's some stuff that's bad. You just have to pick and choose. But he's never been sick yet. He spends less than $100 a month on food, if that, and that includes eating out and probably beer and whatever else. And he says, you know, his fridge gets full. He has to give away his foods to his friends. You know, they can't almost eat it all. But he sent me an email saying what he had gotten this Sunday. Oops, I said the day. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, Sunday. But he said we did go diving last night and got a bunch of lettuce, pita bread, apples, tomatoes, avocados, and fruit. And so it just shows that there can be a lot of healthy options. Those things are just going to spoil. There's also a lot of like dips and stuff like that. Pop culture. This is becoming like a kind of a big deal. More and more people are latching on to the idea, and there's a political idea called freeganism, which is an anti-consumerist lifestyle whereby people employ alternative living strategies based on limited participation in the conventional economy and minimal consumption of resources. Basically, you're not contributing to capitalist society as much. You limit it as much as possible. You try and use what nobody else is going to use anyway. I don't condone stealing, you know, or taking things from people, but taking what nobody wants and putting it to good use. There's also a lot of movies and documentaries that are starting to be put out about it. There's one that's been to a lot of prevalent film festivals. It's called Dive, and there's been a lot of news reports. When I was doing my research, there's actually a lot of legitimate corporations like ABC and CNN, and they just have done reports because it's such a novel idea to people. There's a lot of how-to websites that give you good tips on the internet, and there's this one organization called Food Not Bombs. It was started in the 1980s as kind of an anti-war, pro-social justice movement, and these people, they've spread out to be all over the U.S. and even to the U.K. They go dumpster diving a lot. They've learned how to prepare food so that there's no, you know, you cook it to a certain temperature so that they can sure that they're not going to make anyone sick. And they make vegetarian and vegan food, and they just go out on the side of the road and distribute it to people in big cities. There's lots of videos. I just think it's a really cool idea because a lot of food does get donated to charities and soup kitchens and stuff like that, but at a certain point, they just can't be held liable for things, and they can't give you things once it's past an expiration date. So one other thing to think about is there's a certain disgust level that people have, and like I talked about, sometimes, our society puts an emphasis on not showing that you're poor or not appearing that way, even if you could provide. There's a lot of people, some of these videos and some of these news reports I watched, these people could totally provide for themselves, but they do it for a good cause and to try and, do something they think is right. And it does save you money. You could put this money towards other good works if that's your nature. But on a serious note, I doubt really any of you guys may dumpster dive. I think that you should. I think you should go with someone who has before, if you do. But it's kind of the idea behind it, just using things that we already have. We are always, we always have this fear of running out of resources, but we can buy locally grown food, grow our own food, recycle, shop at thrift stores, carpool, bike walk, conserve energy and water. There's a lot you can do to lessen your impact and just use what you have around you and just live a more natural life. So I hope you guys someday at least become comfortable with the fact that people eat out of trash cans. Perfectly normal people that are walking around you, and they eat perfectly good food. I've been at my friend's house when they took an empty backpack, their bike, they went, they came back, the food, I saw it, I helped them wash it, it was perfectly sealed, it was fresh, and I ate some, it was fine, it's just like normal food. It goes straight from a store shelf to a trash can. One other thing I want to add is that if you guys do something like this, be respectful. Any grocery store can put a lock on their dumpster. Some choose not to, and some know that people do this, and they choose to just let people do it until, they make it an extra problem for them. So that's why you should dumpster dive.